That's what I was told.
Okay, I think that we are ready to go. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. It's wonderful to see a room full of people interested in this election. Tonight we're going to talk about the Board of Supervisors, Districts 2, 3, and 4. Thank you all for attending. This is a different way for us to do this, as you can guess. One of the things that happens is that people become very district-oriented and we get a lot of district questions. I know that you represent your district. One of the things that we wanted to talk about tonight was Shasta County as a whole. And although you represent a district, you're voting for the good of Shasta County. And I want you to keep that in mind as you answer the questions, if you would, please. So, good evening. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of the Reading area, I would like to welcome you to this candidates forum. My name is Susan Morris Wilson, and I will be the moderator this evening. Most of you know the candidates, but I'm just going to introduce them, and as I introduce you, you might just stand up and wave so people put you with, they won't be able to see your names. That's basically what I'm telling you. So the candidates for District 2 are Suzanne Barrymore. Suzanne? Laura Hobbs, Ellen Young, I'm sorry, Dan Sloan. All right, there's your District 2. District 3, Wynn Carpenter, Courtney Harmon, Mary Rickert. No applause. We're going to keep the applause to a minimum. I love clapping too. But if we keep clapping, we won't be able to hear other people talk. And candidates for District 4, Patrick Henry Jones and Matt Plummer. Thank you so much. So a lot of people wonder, I think all of us wonder, what does the Board of Supervisors do? You're going to hear a lot about that tonight from the Board of Supervisors themselves. I actually went to the CSAC website and looked at what does the Board of Supervisors do, and they have a lot of great information about what they're assigned to do, and I suggest that if you are wondering what the responsibilities are, you might take a look at that. I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Participation in activities that cover the entire county, and that's where I came up with this idea of the entire county. Execution of the executive and legislative responsibilities for the county, including overseeing county programs and services, and allocating funding for county programs. And they may supervise some county officials. And then the third thing I picked out of the whole list of things that they do is participation in litigation in the county as appropriate. So that gives you an idea of some of the things that they're going to do. They'll tell you more about that. Just a reminder, the election will be held on the 5th of March. I'm going to give you an idea of how we're going to run this tonight. Most of you know that the county clerk's office has moved and has moved to the county administration office in Reading. Want you to know that. And I think on that note, we'll get ready to go. I want to remind you that the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization. The League encourages informed and active citizen participation in government and influences public policy through education and advocacy. The League does not endorse any candidate for partisan office. Tonight we are recording our proceedings. Mike is in charge of it, and he's over there taking care of business. And we are live streaming to Facebook. So let me describe our format for this evening. The order of speaking has been determined by lot. The statements will be timed, and the timekeeper will hold up a white card indicating, you want to hold it up? Indicating 1 minute remaining, a yellow card indicating, oh, no, we don't, a yellow card, sorry, doing 30 seconds remaining, and a red card indicating stop. And I'm going to ask you on the stop card, you don't have to stop mid-sentence. Finish your sentence, but don't ramble on if you could avoid it. We're going to, because there's so many of you, try to keep even the difficult questions to a minute's answer. So think concise thoughts as you answer these questions. Each candidate will make an initial presentation of 3 minutes about their backgrounds, areas of concerns, reasons for running for office. Let people know who you are. And we will have a 2-minute closing statement so you can pick up on the things that maybe didn't get talked about or that are important to you. And we will have questions in rotating order. So, Dan Sloan will start and we'll work our way down. And then the next time, Matt will start and we'll work our way down. I'm going to put a person up here to run the microphone back and forth. I presume we have a microphone. Does Dan have the microphone? He's going to be the first person who needs the microphone. And so I need someone that would help me be a runner if we have any runners. Heather, could you do that for me? Thank you so much. As you came in, you were handed 3x5 cards, or maybe people asked you if you wanted a 3x5 cards. You need to write your questions on those cards. You need to get those questions to the League of Women Voters. If you stand up and wave that thing around, somebody will come and get it. We got some wavers here, but they have to wave with a little more vigor, I think. And so we will collect those cards and take them to the back and get them sort of organized so that I can ask questions that I can read and make sense. If you need a card, you can raise your hand and get a card. If you need a pencil, you can raise your hand and get a pencil. One of the things that I'd like to ask you is, as you ask questions, and I saw some of the questions back there already, and the question was for Dan Sloan only. We're not going to ask anybody only the question. So make your questions general and appropriate to everyone that's sitting there. We're talking about the whole of Shasta County. So if the Dan Sloan person who had a question for Dan Sloan thinks that it's good for everyone, we can use it. But if you think it's only good for one person and you put one person's name on it, we will dispose of it. I have to tell you, this is a large crowd. We are not going to be able to answer every single solitary question. But I am betting that the folks that are here will be hanging about after we're finished. And you can talk to them then. They also have campaign materials out in the other room. And be sure and look at those. We appreciate your attendance tonight. We're going to try and end at 8 o'clock. What are the bets? You think we're going to finish at 8 o'clock? Don't know. But I would appreciate it if you would keep your clapping till the end of the whole thing, and then we can stomp our feet, clap our hands, yell and shout, whatever we want to do. Our timekeepers tonight are these two ladies right here in the front. Most important for you all, keep an eye on them, and they will keep you informed. Any questions about what we're going to do? Got it? This is the usual format for the League of Women Voters, but we have a lot of new candidates here, so it's really fun when we have different people. Okay, on that note, I have some questions. They gave me 4 questions right here. And so we're going to get started. And Dan, we start with you. 1 minute. No, 3 minutes. You are doing your opening remarks. Scared you, didn't I? Scared you. Okay, off you go, Dan.
Do I sit or stand?
I think it would be nice if they could stand. Yeah.
How tall are you?
I'm standing.
Oh, you're good.
Don't walk around in front of the table, but stand.
I will.
You're good.
Thanks.
Perfect.
Ready, go. I'm Dan Sloan, and I'm really pleased to be here tonight. This is my first time running for an office like this, so it's an honor for me to be here. I was born in Shasta County in Redding, and actually moved from the hospital into the district that I currently live in. Can you hear me? Better?
Keep your mouth right
I
up.
recognize that.
This is an ice cream cone microphone.
All right. So I was born here, and my father passed, moved out of town after an accident when I was 1, moved back during high school. So I went to Enterprise High School, Shasta College, and then on to Simpson University. So I have a lot of experience in the culture, and heritage, and just growing up here, lots of friends and neighbors. And I went into business, dropped out of university when I was 23, bought my first company, and did all kinds of really cool stuff, I think, as an entrepreneur and as a businessman. Learned a great deal, the School of Hard Knocks, wore lots of hats. At the same time, I recognized that I couldn't do it all, so I went back to university and continued my education as I managed and operated companies. Went on for that for a couple decades. Did a lot of business with Philip Morris, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola, large Fortune 500 companies, doing business in many states around the world even. And then in my education, I've earned a doctorate. I have several master's degrees. My doctorate is in the area of financial economics. And had the privilege of going to work with the U.S. Department of State in China, and Georgetown University, D.C. is part of that, and in Pepperdine University, the law school there. I've done a lot of things in education, and diplomacy, mediation, arbitration, and all those areas as well. Very experienced candidate in many different areas, business as well as education, finance, economics. So I bring a plethora of information and ideas with me. I'm the chairman of the Shasta GOP. I'm on the mission, Good News Rescue Mission Board. I'm the treasurer there. Red Hawk Republicans is a college Republican entity that I helped create to help educate students about democracy. I've been on the president of the Kiwanis Club here in Reading, and just thrilled with the stuff that we've done there. Built a family house across from the hospital, if you guys know where that's at, years ago. And I'm really interested what I can do here. That's why I'm back, is what can I do? I have a lot of skills. I can really go anywhere in the world. But what can I do to help my community, the one I was born into that I care a great deal about, and help use all of that knowledge and experience I have that the government helped pay for, and put that back into a community I really care about. Thank you.
Thank you. Matt Plummer, you're next.
Hi, I'm Matt Plummer, and I grew up in a small town in western New Jersey, about 1 square mile big. And so went through a K-8 school with about 150 kids, learned to get along with everybody because I was stuck with the same 18 kids for 9 years, which was trying at times. And after school, I went to work for a company that was kind of like Amazon, but for industrial supplies. So we sold nuts and bolts. I worked in the warehouse as a manager. But what I realized is, as I would walk to my apartment, and I was in the Midwest, this was the height of the Great Recession, so 2009, and I would see these empty tool and die shops, these empty machine shops, because the auto industry had just collapsed. And I'd wonder, what is the future of this community? And what is the future of the people who have spent 20 or 30 years building these businesses and now have to reinvent themselves with another 10 to 15 years to work? And so I started to say, I'd love to do something where I could be thinking about these problems and these challenges rather than how to get more packages through the warehouse, which is great work, but I wanted something that was focused on the community problem. So I left that, I joined a nonprofit that basically goes around the country and the world and finds nonprofits that are doing something effective and then helps them grow. So we would develop 5, 10-year plans, we'd connect them to funding, and we'd help them solve challenges in the community, whether that was working with police in Philadelphia who were trying to prevent crime by working with young people there, or working in the child welfare system with youth who turn 9 years old. The chances of them getting adopted drops by 50%. And so we would work with those types of organizations. Moved here, was working remotely with my wife and I, moved here with 2 young girls, now we have 3 girls. And after a year here, I said, I want to stay here, I want to invest in the local economy. And as I looked around, I didn't see that many jobs that could become careers where people could grow with the organization. And so I said, what if I start a company here? And with the hopes of employing people, of giving them a career path. And so I started a company that trains other companies, nonprofits, and government agencies on how to be more productive and efficient, how to use critical thinking to solve problems, and how to manage people. And so that's what I've been doing for 6 years. And the idea behind that was, what can I do to move the community forward on the issues that I am seeing? And so about 3 years ago, I started to say, wow, government is having a huge influence on our community. And I would see, announcements from Sacramento, we're doing this initiative, or spending $12 billion on homeless, and then the problem would get worse. And so I said, I need to get involved in government. I started working on campaigns at the state level, county level, and then most recently in the city of Redding. And for me, deciding to run was really about making progress on the challenges that are facing our community. Reducing homelessness, cutting crime, and fixing our roads, getting back to the basics that we want government to take care of. But as we look at that data over the last 10 to 20 years, most of those things have gotten worse and worse. And so I want to see progress on those things that affect us on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you. Mary Rickard?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of you for coming out tonight. This is really warms my heart, the fact that so many people are caring about Shasta County and our future. So I think it's really a testament that we care about our county and we want to see change and we want to see improvement. So a little bit about my background. I have a long family history of being involved in making communities better. My grandfather in 1929 started the FFA program and was chief of the Bureau of Vocational Education for the state of California. And in 1933, they were about to close the doors for Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. He was asked to go and take it over, and he served for 33 years as the president of Cal Poly and founded Cal Poly Pomona. And during that time, I can remember as a child listening to him, and he was passionate about Cal Poly and wanting it to be a great institution. And with that, I remember my father was the same way. He also was a teacher early in life, and he worked for the State Department of Education. And I learned at a very young age that being a leader and making change was important in your life. And so I tried to carry that through. My husband and I, we've been married almost 51 years. I got married at 12. And so when he got out of Purdue with a master's degree in ag economics, we went to work, and he's a professional farm manager and accredited rural appraiser and real estate brokerage. And we also, but probably what we're most known for is our Prather Ranch. And that particular ranch we worked really hard with over the years, and we earned several awards, national, and we were the Commercial Producer of the Year for the North America. Jim and I were selected at one point by the American Society of Farm Managers and Rural Appraisers as a Professional Farm Managers of the Year. We competed nationally. We have won the Governor's Award for Economic Leadership and Environmental and Economic Leadership. We've won the Aldo Leopold Award. And I always put my heart and soul into whatever I did. And about 5 or 6 years ago, no, I guess it's been longer than that, time flies, I was appointed to the State Board of Forestry and Fire Protection by the Governor Brown. And I worked on that for about 3 years, but I had people calling me from Shasta County, my home, and saying, we need you because we need to address mental health issues, substance abuse issues. I served for 10 years on the Mental Health Board for the county, and I was very involved with NAMI, the National Alliance for Mental Illness. I taught the Family to Family course. And so those are some of the things I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about forestry. I got the Shasta Fire Safe Council up and going, and it's really making progress in this county. I'm also passionate about agriculture, and I'm passionate about mental health issues and substance use in our county, because as a result, we have so much crime. Public safety is a big issue too. So with that, I'm getting the time. My time is up, so thank you for coming, and let's have a great time tonight.
Laura Hobbs?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dr. Laura Hobbs, and I would like to begin this meeting by all of us standing and saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So yes, my name is Laura Hobbs. I'm a stay-at-home mom currently. I got my PhD in microbiology over 10 years ago. When the 2020 election was stolen from President Trump, that's when I got activated. I began analyzing election data using my skills and training, looking at large microbial data sets and applying that to votes. In particular, I looked at the cast vote record. I looked at many local elections, over 50 different contests, and I found evidence of computer manipulation on almost every single contest I looked at, with only a handful of exceptions to that. And that's what got me activated, that's what got me going to the board meetings, displaying my data for everyone to see. And from then on, I became more involved here. I had a sense of helplessness initially after the election was stolen, but after listening to General Michael Flynn and others, I was encouraged that the way to take our country back was by getting involved at the local level. So that's how I began with what I'm doing here today. I was raised in San Luis Obispo County, for those of you that don't know me. That's a small county, about 40,000 people in the town of San Luis Obispo when I was growing up in the 80s. My grandparents settled in rural San Luis Obispo County, so I'm familiar with the rural concerns, and I think San Luis Obispo County to this day is still considered a rural county. But we moved here about 3 years ago for health concerns, and also because I have family here. My sister's in District 2, my mother's in District 2, and so I've invested here. I have 3 young boys, which we homeschool, which are growing up here in Shasta County, and I have a duty to them for their future, to keep our country great, to get involved, and my goal is to make Shasta great again. Thank you.
Patrick Jones.
Well, thank you, everyone. And first, I would like to thank the League for putting this on tonight. And Laura, I'd like to thank you for doing the flag. I appreciate that. So I grew up here. Our family moved here in 1969. In fact, we moved here to Central Valley. My dad's first shop was on Shasta Dam Boulevard, right across from Kathy's Variety Store. And then we eventually moved into the city of Reading. Went to all the local schools, Enterprise High School, Shasta College, and transferred to Sac State University, and then came back to Reading. I first got interested in politics in the year 2000. I was seeing votes that was happening at the Reading City Council, and they didn't reflect, I think, the values of the town, and so I decided to run. I eventually won a seat on the Reading City Council in 2006. I was mayor of Reading in 2010, and then I ended that right at 2015. Shortly after that, I took a little break from politics. I married my beautiful wife, Lori, and settled down a little bit, but then the urge came back. I started watching what was happening at the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, and again felt the same urge that the votes that I was seeing affect the county was not reflective of the people. And so I ran in 2019 and 20, and I won my primary in 2020 and went on to win in the fall. And the very first thing that I did, the first day in January of 2021, is I opened the doors to the Shasta County Board of Supervisors and let the public in. And I was very proud of that. I promised the public that I would do that. I also took down my plexiglass and began the hard work of affecting change the way I felt a conservative person would do. This last year I was super proud. I was chosen to be the chairman of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, and that is a great honor. We did a lot last year, and we're already doing a lot this year. We have had more meetings than we have ever had. We've had more night meetings. We've had more public comment. And these all are, and at the end of the day, we've gotten more work done for the residents of Shasta County. I'm proud of the accomplishments. We attempted to get rid of the Dominion, well, we did get rid of the Dominion voting machine, but only to have the state come around and pass AB 969, stripping us of local control for counting our ballots. Elections are important, and we're going to continue to work on that. I was very happy with the Second Amendment resolution and stopping SB 2 to the best of our ability. I was very happy with putting on the ballot term limits and the charter county. So we had a lot of good decisions. I'm very happy with the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, and I don't usually say that very much. Usually I'm more critical of government than positive. But this board in the last year, I believe, is looking out for the best interests of the people here in Shasta County. And I'd like to have your support for one more run. That's what I've got left in to me. And 2 terms would be great. So I appreciate your support. I appreciate all of you being here tonight. Thank you.
Wayne Carpenter.
Hello, my name is Wayne Carpenter. I'm from District 3. I'm 7th generation Shasta County resident. My family's been here before California was even a state, in District 3 specifically.
Wayne, can I ask you to hold your microphone a little closer to your mouth? Pretend it's an ice cream cone.
Can't hear me?
There you go.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I'm District 3, raised. I wasn't born here, I was born in Germany. My dad was military, my mom was a school teacher. They were married and lived over there. I came along. Then we were there until I was almost 2, and my sister was made there, but she was processed here. So that's how we came about starting the family anyway. Came right back to MacArthur, and my family has had a ranch there for many years. And when my grandparents finally decided to retire, they sold it. And so my family's been involved in logging, agriculture, you name it, all of it. I went off to, after graduating Palo Cedro High School in 1980, I went to Shasta College. Graduated from Shasta College, went to Davis. Left Davis and went to Chico, and then came full circle in my industry that I was working in. I was a fair manager for 15 years. That's what I did. Doing budgets, crunching numbers, working with all kinds of people. Yes, carnival people too. So I have a good understanding of how people work. And so I did that for a number of years. And then when our second child came along, we decided to move back to Redding. We already knew we were coming back to Redding to raise the kids before they started school. So we got here, raised our 2 kids. My son is a police officer here locally, and my daughter's finishing up her schooling, and my wife is a high school teacher. So we are vested, we are going nowhere. My parents have since passed and sold the properties that they had, and we're moving on. But I am vested in Shasta County, I'm vested in District 3 specifically. I worked for the county for a number of years in the assessor's office as an appraiser in District 3. So I know that area very well. I know where the meth labs are, I know where the marijuana grows are. I know there are some really good people out there, and there are some great properties that have great value out there. And there are a lot of good businesses out there that are struggling because the county hasn't helped them. So we need to get that fixed and get the county fixing all these businesses and helping these property owners to do what they need to do so everything improves. If you have any questions later, I'd be happy to answer anything you want to ask. By the way, I do a radio show on Sunday mornings, but I haven't been doing it for a while because there's a big problem with running a campaign and being on the radio because it's perceived that you have an unfair advantage. So I purposely have not been on the radio for, 3 months now. But as soon as this is over, I'll be back on the radio talking politics like we always do. And we criticize politicians. Criticize this guy, criticize all of them. Thank you.
Corky Harmon?
Good evening. I was conceived and processed here.
Keep that microphone up, Corky. Thank you.
I'm Corky Harmon. I'm a 3rd generation Shasta County. I'm a businessman. God's my priority. My wife is my 2nd priority, and my family is my 3rd priority. What I want to offer you as a candidate is my common sense and business leadership. I think we need a well-rounded board, and I think a well-rounded board is different areas of expertise. My expertise is in running businesses, running large projects. I've always dealt with budgets, people. My family, I just got a business card from somebody for the garbage service. My grandpa was the first garbage service in Shasta County. I believe he was the first one. And then my grandpa on the other side worked on the Iron Mountain mines. I've been in this community for a long time. I raised my family in Palo Cedro. I've been in the same house for 33 years. One of the caveats about me running for supervisor was, number one, my wife saying it was okay. And she wasn't okay with it for a while. I don't really blame her. I walked in one day to the kitchen and she said, "You're running." I thought I was running to the holiday market to get groceries or something. She said, "No, I understand why you feel like you need to run." She's been listening to got a lot of information, and I was that was one of my rules between myself and praying to the Lord about it. And my other one was that I be in District 3. I'm still in the same house I've been in for 33 years, and when they did the census, the lines got moved, and all of a sudden I was in District 3, and so it was like putting the fleece out, and I had 2 green lines. So I really couldn't back away from the commitment I'd made about if the green lights come up, I'll do it. One thing I'm not is a public speaker. I don't think I need to be a public speaker to do this job. It probably helps, right, Patrick? But what I want to bring to this, if I'm successful, if the people vote me in, what I bring to this is a lot of experience in business. I think we need a lot of common sense in business. It's probably one of the largest businesses in the county is the county government. And I've dealt with projects, large projects, $36 million was the largest one, which was the Dixie Fire cleanup. I know how to handle emergencies. I know how to work with people. I know how to put the right people in the right places. And I feel like what I have to bring is a stop sign.
Suzanne Fairmore.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to thank you, Susan, as well, and the rest of the League of Women Voters for hosting this tonight. And I'd like to thank all of you for attending. I have lived in Shasta County since 1977, when I was 8 years old. God was a boy, something like that. It's been a while. I grew up in Shingletown. I went to Blackwood School. I am interested in running for this seat on this Board of Supervisors because it is time for us to get back to business. The elections were not stolen. Everything is free, fair, and accurate. So we need to be focusing on some of the same things that Matt and Mary have talked about, our crime problem as it's intertwined with our mental health issues. We need to be focused on having a good governance team. Our current Board of Supervisors is not working well together. What I do in my day job currently is I am a field rep for the California School Boards Association. I spend some piece of every single day helping school boards work together positively and proactively to meet their mission and accomplish their goals. And I would like to bring that kind of experience to county government. I have also worked for the county. I've worked in the public health department as well as the county council's office, personnel and risk management. So I have some very unique roles in my work career where I understand more than most how every single department operates, the rules under which they have to follow, how their budgets flow from the state, pass through into the county. So I bring that kind of collaborative knowledge. One of the things that I'm most proud of when I worked in public health is that I worked with all the nonprofits virtually in the county. We did a lot of really great dynamic collaborative work. One of the things that my role was to help make sure that contracts got out on time for that department and to find ways to get the work done, the positive things that our department was doing. We would find the ways to make it work through very complex contracting issues and laws. And I feel very satisfied that we got a lot of good work done when I was in that department in that regard. And that's the kind of stuff that I will bring to this role. Also, because I work for an advocacy organization, I am in touch with Sacramento. I have relationships with legislators in Sacramento. I can pick up the phone and get into offices and get us the help and that we need to get done so that we can move on and get back to business.
Ellen Long.
Hello, I'm Alan Long, and I'm honored to be here speaking with you tonight. I thank everyone for showing up and to the League for hosting this event. Why am I here? That's a question I had to ask myself. I've been watching local politics for a number of years, and I've become very concerned over the last few years of the direction of our county and the outside influence of a mega donor that has come from the East Coast and a lot of the curriculum and the agenda for our county board currently. So I decided it was time to step up and try to push back, restore faith in our government, stop the turnover of our personnel, stabilize our government, and start working on some huge priorities that I see for our county. Hopefully we'll get into those here in a minute. why am I qualified to stand here before you? My background is one of a very broad educational and experience background, and that has led me to seeking this position, feeling I'm electable and I'm qualified for this position. So, education. I went to UC Berkeley, went through their business school, and was 4 years, my 4th year in accounting. Decided that wasn't for me, switched to finance, graduated with a finance degree. Eventually, later in my career, I went on to get a master's degree in public administration through National University. So that was my educational background. I got hired right out of college with Bank of America. They put me through their management training program. I was a commercial loan officer, loan analyst, working with businesses, so trying to determine whether they were creditworthy for the bank purpose. And so I got to understand a lot of the finances and how banks or how businesses work. Decided that wasn't for me. I decided I wanted to become a police officer. So worked down the Bay Area for 5 years as a police officer, transferred to Reading and spent 20 years here. And that has been the bulk of my career. I was fortunate while I was at the police department as a police officer to have a broad base of experience. So I worked as a patrol officer, eventually went over to our detective unit, worked sexual assaults, property crimes, and eventually worked in what they called, classified as major crimes. Sexual assault is, of course, which was our aggravated assault, robbery, homicide. So I was that detective. Promoted out of detectives and eventually worked my way up and became a sergeant in the neighborhood police unit. I've been out into the homeless camps trying to plug people into services. I understand that world. I was a union guy involved in negotiations. I understand that world. I was the treasurer for our association, so I again had that experience. The last 5 years, I've been on the grant school board, and I've gotten a great experience from that. So putting all these skills together in this background, I feel I'm qualified for this position. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So now we're going to start the questions. 1 minute. Please be sure to keep the microphone right up by your mouth. I know it's uncomfortable, but if you do it, we have people that can hear better. The first question, 1 minute. What do you consider the highest priority for Shasta County in the coming year?
The highest priority, as I alluded to when I opened, is homelessness and the connected issue of crime. You know, in 2007, we had less than 300 homeless in Shasta County. Today, that number is over 1,000. And everyone feels it on a daily basis or a weekly basis. You know, I was just on Autumn Harvest Way this past weekend talking to some people, and they're talking about how they see one guy, for his work, he gets up at 2 in the morning. And so he sees people going door to door, checking the cars to see if they're open, to see if they can take something out of the car. So we're all experiencing this. We need to make progress on this, and we need to start by setting a goal of getting to 0 homeless for a certain population. This is what communities, there's 14 communities around the country. I worked with the organization that's working with them that are getting to 0 homeless. We start with veteran homeless. We have about 100 of those, and we can make progress on this and begin to change the trend that has been true for over 15 years here. Interconnected.
Thank you. Mary Rickard.
I wish I had more than a minute. Homelessness is one of the major issues, and it's a very complex problem. Many of the people that are homeless have a mental health issue. Again, mental health is a passion of mine. I've brought a lot of speakers to the county, really worked in that particular area. Also, I think it's really important. We need to improve our situation in the jail. And when we have people incarcerated, this is an opportunity to have them treated. Okay, closer. One of the things that I advocated for and worked on was to get medically assisted treatment in the jail. It is still a program. Another program that I got was the jail-based treatment program. And that is where someone who is deemed incompetent to stand trial, we can treat them in the jail, and that way they don't have to go to state hospital. They can get through our justice system quicker, and that'll open up more beds in the jail. So homelessness, public safety, mental health, and substance use are the major issues we need to address.
Laura Hobbs.
Okay, well, just to bounce off of them, I think homeless issues here in this county is a law enforcement issue. We already have laws in the book against public camping, against drunken in public, against loitering. We need to enforce those laws. but most important for me here would be defending Shasta's sovereignty. And that encompasses hand-counted elections at the precincts. It encompasses fighting against the windmills. It includes also a fair and equitable Zog fire settlement and dealing with the acid canal debacle fairly and compensating those individuals who were harmed. There's about $17.5 million in businesses that were lost due to that. And that's just some of the few I want to go through quickly, but those are the basic things. I think we could also impanel a grand jury to try to drain the local swamp. Right now we have a grand jury that is overworked, so we need another one as well. Thank you.
Patrick Jones.
So the number one priority, I believe, this year for the Shasta County Board of Supervisors is going to be the construction and design of a new jail. I've been leading that effort, working closely with the Sheriff's Command staff, CEO, our finance officer, and our CEO. We've been working behind the scenes, coming up with some ideas. This probably would be the county's most expensive endeavor that we've ever undertaken, approximately $125 million. And it's going to take roughly about 275 people off the streets and hold people accountable for criminal activities. And this will be a state-of-the-art facility where there will be programming and vast improvements from our current facility. Homeless is another issue. I've been working also on the at-home committee, and we've already begun working on a resource center that will also help. So those are two of the top issues, but building a jail is going to be difficult. Right now, our budget is going to be coming up in June, and we're going to be addressing the possibility of the ultimate financing for that project. And so that's our priority.
Wynn Carpenter.
Again, we sound like a broken record here. We want to get the jail done. We want to get the expansion of the jail itself once the new courthouse is ready to be moved into and get the old one vacated, and then do some remodel there and expansion where we can to make sure that we accommodate all those that have the mental health issues to be treated here locally. And we need to do that as quickly as possible, get them off the streets. And if we can't do that for some strange reason, why not partner up with the counties, the northern counties of California, to work with the high desert prison that the governor is trying to close, and then we could all send our bad guys that are in prison, they have prison terms over there, and they can finish serving their terms over there, and they would be out of our jail, which would open up beds and allow us to put the bad guys off the street in there. And then our streets would be safer, they would be cleaner, and everybody would be able to go back out and do what you need to do and not have to worry about it.
Corky Harmon.
Kind of sounds like a little bit of a broken record, but crime's number one to our sheriff's department. Whatever that takes. The jails, I'm supportive of. And then homelessness, mental health, goes along with that. And that has a lot to do with the crime too. But I'm dealing with homelessness at my office right here in town, and it's a daily ritual to clear the sidewalks. But I want to bring good common sense to the board in a business-like manner. I've spent my whole life dealing with people, putting people together, working with people, whether they're for me or against me. I'm a people person, and I'm capable of bringing people together. And I think that's what we need. We gotta have some leadership. Not saying that we don't have leadership, but I would add leadership to the board, and I appreciate you all being here tonight.
Suzanne Barrymore.
Thank you so much. So, I'm going to kind of repeat the same things: the jail, dealing with the crime issues, mental health resources, as we know that they're all kind of intertwined together. I also would like us to make the watch fires, as we watch the fires burn, that we are finding ways to be defensible against fires, and that we are finding ways to make ourselves whole. I believe that some of the fire that burned through Igo and Ono was the folks out there did not get everything they needed on the back end to rebuild. And it's a matter of when the next fire comes. So I want us to be able to deal with that issue in a way that makes sense to us and gets us the resources that we need.
Ellen Long?
Thank you. Yes, the joys of going last position here, the jail. So, from my perspective as a police officer and then eventually as a police lieutenant here with Reading Police, I got to know collaboratively a lot of people in the community and worked on those kinds of relationships and understand the importance and the problems we're having with crime currently. There's no accountability for crime, especially for lower grade quality of life issues. So we need to build a new facility. I don't believe in expanding the current facility outward for a lot of reasons. I believe in the facility that Sheriff Johnson has proposed, which is out on Airport Road, which will have a mental health component, a drug addiction component, and there would be also additional bed space. So that's what I'm going to work tirelessly toward getting that facility built, and I've got a lot of ideas on how creatively we can get to that point.
Dan Sloan?
Thank you very much. Yeah, there's been some great stuff going on here. I've been back for 5 years, and at Simpson University, I'm the MBA director. I built the program and the business director, chairman out there for schools, for the school. And part of that, I meet a lot of business people, and I hear about crime and how it impacts their businesses. Meet a lot of people in our society, our community, and I echo a lot of the comments made that crime is really severe. Some of the things that I've been doing, apart from agreeing that we need a new jail, and the jail, we're just very thankful that the floor is open. But we need to pursue other methods besides just what we're doing. On Saturday, we're going to have, this coming Saturday, a signing for an initiative called the Homeless Drug Addiction and Theft Reduction Act, which helps turn back the clock on Proposition 47. It's supposed to go on the ballot in November, hopefully. It's only been out there for about 2 weeks, so we got 250,000 signatures on already. Kevin Kiley and a whole bunch of people jumped on it today, and through the Republican Party as I'm the chair, we're really pushing it. Thank you.
Okay, Mary, you get to answer the next question first. And the next question is, what are the top 2 things you plan to accomplish to improve our county?
There are so many things that need to be done. I think that one of the things is I think we need to bring back civility and decorum to Shasta County. I think we need to focus on what's important. I have noticed in the last year in particular, we've had several agenda items come before our board that really doesn't impact the majority of the residents of Shasta County. And I care about every single resident of Shasta County. This position is not a partisan position. We shouldn't be focused on political parties. We should be focused on each person. I do think that we need to really focus on substance abuse, the homelessness. I agree with Alan, I think that we need to get a facility that's going to be able to address the needs of those who are incarcerated with their mental health issues and their substance abuse issues. So that is something I'm going to really focus on. I also hope that we can, I'm going to continue with my work with the fire safe councils and make this a more resilient county and to really work on home hardening and defensible space with all the citizens of Shasta County.
Next on the agenda, Laura Hobbs.
Okay, well, I think that, yes, decorum is important, but more important to the citizens of Shasta County are issues like the Zog fire settlement. Stephanie Bridget, our DA, settled that using county funds. And the money was distributed by Stephanie Bridget instead of the Board of Supervisors. So one thing we can do immediately is change that. If county money is used to settle a case, then the Board of Supervisors should be responsible for the distribution. Unfortunately, she gave the money to her pet project, the Children's Defense Fund, and the citizens of Igo-Ono got very, very little money. They got $200,000 out of the $50 million. That's not right. I will stand up. I will fight for the citizens of my district and all the citizens of Shasta County. Same thing with the Acid Canal problem. The citizens were harmed. We need to rectify the harm, and whether that be a lawsuit or figuring out what laws were violated, we need to do something about it. Thank you.
Dr. Jones.
So obviously, building the jail and making reasonable progress on homeless issues. And again, I think the at-home resource center is going to be very important. Early on, Sheriff Johnson did take a look at a piece of property off of Airport Road to have an off-site location. The problem is that is a landfill, you cannot build on it. The estimates for an off-site jail to build completely is around $500 million. We do not have that kind of money. We do not have the financing for that. What we're proposing is being able to do it in the downtown campus where we own the land, and it's in a price range that we can afford. And that price range is still around $125 million, but it's within our grasp. If we continue to go and look for something that we can't afford, it will stall, as it has done several times in the past, and we will not get any forward movement. I'm proposing an opportunity to build a facility that will take 275 more people off the streets. We're going to push hard for that this year. I think we'll get it done.
Wayne Carpenter?
I would like to have a forensic audit done of multiple departments of the county immediately. We need to find out where the money's going, who's authorizing the money, how it's being spent, all that. That's what a forensic audit does. And that's never happened. We have an audit department who audits, yes, debit, credit, balance, good. Now we need to find out where it's all going, especially with some of these other programs, these mysterious programs that are mentioned, but nobody ever comes up with follow-through on them. So we need to absolutely do forensic audits. That will tell us where the problems are. That will tell us what we need to fix immediately. That will tell us if we have enough money for all these projects that we're looking to do. If we don't have the money for the projects, it's a bad thing to do. We're not going to make it happen. So let's look at that, get the forensic audits done. We can do several of those simultaneously, get the reports back, and they will take time. Don't think it's going to happen overnight. So we need to get those things done quickly and make it happen immediately.
Corky Harmon?
I want to, it's kind of like saying the same thing over and over again, but I want to bring common sense back to the leadership. It's like, and I don't want that to sound like I'm dogging on anybody, because I'm not. I want to do what a businessman would do. I want to go in there and go into the different departments and meet with the department heads. That's what I do. I put crews together and I work with people, and I know how to talk to people, and I know how to get people to want to be led by you because they're motivated. We need some motivation in there, and we need people that will and that's distracting. But we need people. We need to be able to go in there and meet those people and see what each department needs. And I'd like to see it way more friendly for the builders. The builders out there, it's frustrating, and I know I'm speaking like a contractor, but it is frustrating to get a project through. And I think there's some really good projects that need to get assisted, and the people in there need to treat them like their customers.
Suzanne Barrymore?
All right, so first and foremost, what I would like to see as a priority as a supervisor sitting on this board is for the board to work together as a team and to work respectfully with its elected and appointed department heads to get the job done. I feel like there have been too many decisions in the last couple of years where legal advice has been ignored, where the experience and knowledge and education of the people who are the professionals in our elections office, in our DA's office, in our sheriff's department, have not been listened to as part of that process. You know, these are the people that we want helping us craft decisions. All of us could probably be good leaders in one way or another. We have our individual strengths and weaknesses, but we need the experts.
Ellen Malone?
Yeah, I believe strongly the first thing we need to do is we need to restore our county government. Without a functioning government, you have nothing. You can't get to your priorities, you can't do your things you need to do for the citizens. So I won't belabor that, but I'm very concerned with the turnover in our key department heads. A number of employees at the line level are in queue, ready to leave. We have to support a living wage, and we have to support a stable government, and then we can venture out. Having said that, I'm concerned with a couple major things that have been brought to my attention during canvassing. and that is public safety. I will work tirelessly for our new facility. And another thing is with all the components, and another thing is fire safety. I live in District 2, and every year we live in terror of fire. So I've talked with fire experts, and that is a story to be continued.
Dan Sloan.
Great, thank you. Yeah, crime, the jail, heard it all here, but homelessness and infrastructure that we need in order to correct the problems we have in this community are very important. I come from an area of leadership in what I do, and you've got my background now. If you know Prop 47, it was the one where $950 could be stolen out of the store and people really didn't get in trouble. So it's adding teeth to make sure that these laws are changed. And I think that's a big part of it. We do need a new jail, and we got to keep the jail open. We need to confront homelessness. I've been on the board of the Good News Rescue Mission, and really appreciate the fact that we're working together, that at-home project, where we're distributing the funds in a more efficient way. I have a lot of expertise in finance and economics, probably more education than most. Don't blame me for that, but it's a good thing. And I'm able to use that to help us find ways to maximize what we get. So these questions about where we're, and there are $2.7 million going towards the Zog Fire and a possible grant that we have coming up. I just spoke to Supervisor Tim Garman about that. Thank you.
And next we have Matt Palmer.
I think many of us are frustrated that we see our tax dollars going to the government and we're not seeing a benefit to the community in terms of the actual impact on rates of homelessness, rates of crime. And so I'd like to see us change how we think about government, because government, the incentive structure is wrong. Politicians often boast about, oh, I passed this policy or I spent this money. But how did it actually impact the community? And if we look at all the measures of community, thriving and success, and we see those getting worse, it doesn't matter what policies you're passing. So how do we change it? I think what we need to do is we need to set countywide goals, and we publish them on the website. And they're community goals that you all can see, like the fact that we have one of the highest suicide rates in the state, right? What would it look like for to publish a 10% goal there, and then see whether or not your government officials are making progress on that? It would change the incentive structure so that our government would work to deliver a benefit to the community. Right now, 5 years ago, we spent $500 million. Now we're spending $660 million. We're not getting better results.
Thank you. Laura, you have the microphone? Great. So the next question is, where do you stand on Measure C, which is term limits, 2 terms, and some caveats, and Measure D, which changes our county to a charter county?
I support term limits. I think it's a great idea. I don't support career politicians, people who are getting in this for the next step. They're using Shasta as a stepping stone. They see themselves as a candidate that might be better suited in Sacramento or DC. We don't need that here. We need ordinary citizens with proven humility. We need people like me who are willing to do what's difficult, step out of their comfort zone, stand up for the people of this county and for the future of this county. And what was the other one, Measure D?
Measure D is a charter county.
Yes, I absolutely support charter county. However, it depends on how it's written. I like what's going before the voters in March. I think we should all vote yes for that. It's a very simplified version. We can add to it more as needed. I think we should add more to it as needed, but it's a very good first start. Thank you.
Patrick Jones.
Yeah, so I was happy to vote, and my vote was a key vote on these to get both of these to the voters here in March 5th. So first, with regards to the charter county, there's only one thing on the charter, and when it says there's a vacancy within the Shasta County Board of Supervisors, instead of the governor picking that, the board has 3 options, and the board makes that decision. We can either appoint, we can have a special election, or let it go to an election. I think that's a very big thing. Also, term limits, I was happy to support that as well, 2 terms. That creates a sense of urgency with supervisors. Many supervisors, as we know, have been on there for 12 years, 16 years, 20 years. When you limit it to 2 terms, you've got your work to do, there's a sense of urgency to get that work done, and then make way for the next person. So both of these will be to the voters. And on the charter, for example, if there's ever any other changes that are going to be added to the charter, it always goes before the public. For example, I would like in the future to add an elected position for the quorum, and that would be voted on by the public, always by the public. You have control over your own charter.
Win Carpenter?
Ditto. I mean, how do you how do you follow that one? I support everything Patrick said for the reasons Patrick said it. I support doing everything that we need to do to make sure Shasta County is safe and we are able to do what we need to do here in Shasta County. Whatever your business is, if you don't have a business, what have you, just to live your lives here in Shasta County. And those two options right there, the Charter County will allow us to do exactly that, not allow the governor from Sacramento, who is not friendly in any way, shape, or form, to make an appointment on our board, bypassing all of us, everybody county-wide, being able to vote for that, for those specific districts. So whatever district comes in a vacancy, he's gonna do it, and he's already done it 3 or 4 times here in California. So keep that in mind. And he's not doing it in one of the counties that doesn't want to put a Democrat into their office down there. They put up 6 Republicans, and he said no to every single one of them.
Kirky Harmon?
Here I go with some common sense. Term limits, the highest office in the land, the President of the United States, has 2 terms. That's the limit. Absolutely needs to happen all the way through all of our government. Term limits, it's creating a lot of we got people walking up to a podium that can't talk. They got to help them walk. They've been in there so long they can't even walk up to the podium and they can't put 2 sentences together. I don't want to be here any more than 2 terms. I'm not sure I want to be here more than 1 term. But in the Charter County, absolutely, we don't want government overreach. That's all government overreach. We need to make our own decisions here at Shasta County. That's a no-brainer and common sense again.
Suzanne Barrymore?
So, in terms of term limits for local positions like Board of Supervisors or City Council, things like that, things in our own community, I say let's take care of that at the ballot box. The ballot box has worked for us as a term limit for all the years that we've been voting. I think there's situations where if you can't find somebody that you want to run in your community, then you've foreclosed on letting somebody who's already been in the position and had the experience do the job. As far as the Charter County goes, it's a form of home rule that I don't think is, doesn't have a lot of teeth to it, doesn't carry a lot of weight. I also am very concerned about what a Charter County looks like with the influence of Reverge Anselmo's money. We've seen too much corruption in Shasta County with just the power-hungry finances that come in here. So we need to move on from that as well.
Alan Long?
Starting with Charter County. A Charter County is not in and of itself necessarily a bad thing. However, this charter proposal is a bad thing, and I am not in favor of it. So there are a lot of things in this charter proposal that has not been properly vetted. It's one more thing that's being rushed through, that it's not taking into account contingencies, such as what happens if you lose 2 board members. Law requires 4/5 board members to make budget decisions for contracts. We can't have that happen. Most charter counties will have some provision there if the board doesn't appoint within 90 days or something like that, then the governor steps in. We don't have that written into this, so it's a rush proposition. I'm running out of time. Next topic. As far as term limits, I'm against term limits because I think it's important that you have experienced personnel, and I echo the sentiment, the voters will decide who decides to stay in office. Thank you.
Dan Sloan?
Okay, yeah, I'm for the term limits. I think it's a good idea. I'd like to see fresh ideas and people that have been in office and experienced what it's like to be there, can pass on their information and assist others and move on maybe to something else. I would like to see that we have good quality candidates coming forward, and that will keep that process going. In addition to that, the charter county, I'm for the charter county. I like that it's simple, you know, what they're working with right now. We should have the right to vote for who we want to replace somebody. I'm a business person, and I like the fact that if I don't want somebody to be there, I can remove them, okay? And I can replace them with who I want. We don't have that now, and that charter county doesn't quite give that yet, but we should have that right. And Newsom took that away, took that ability to replace somebody if they are recalled with who we want. I would rather trust you or our board of supervisors than I would Gavin Newsom.
Matt Plummer?
I support term limits primarily because the incumbents have an advantage over someone entering into the race, and we're seeing that in Congress where it's very hard to run against somebody who's been there because they have so many institutional advantages. So yes to term limits. However, I do think institutional knowledge and organization is very important, and the fact that we've lost 30 of our senior leaders in about 2 years is troubling. So I think we need to make sure that we are keeping institutional knowledge. On the charter county, overall, yes. I don't think the governor should have the ability to appoint our replacement. I don't want that to happen. I would prefer that the board not have the ability to appoint a replacement either, because a common situation where there'll be a vacancy would be a recall, and under that scenario, the remaining board members are likely to be in a majority that would have the potential to appoint someone that was similar to the person that was just recalled. And so I would prefer that it were just written such that there would be a special election.
Mary Rickard?
Yes, thank you. I was never a real strong proponent of term limits until the last couple of years in Shasta County. And given the situation that we have in this environment, and what I have seen happen to the employees and the department heads, our county council lawyers, there has been a major exodus of people leaving the county. I had one of our clerks come in to me the other day asking me a question about the agreement that never actually happened in 2019 with the tribe. And so I had to go through the history. I've got the people, the department heads, the new CEO, everybody comes to me because I'm the one with the institutional knowledge because we've had such turnover. So that is the reason I'm running. And as far as the charter county is concerned, I am against that particular measure. It is written such that it takes away the voice of the people. I'm a firm believer that the board should not appoint. I think that the people in that district should have the opportunity to vote for their representative.
Thank you. Patrick Jones gets to go first the next time. He asked me for a good question. Not an easy question, a good question. So this is the good question, Patrick. Many of you talked about unhoused people, homeless people as a problem, an issue. Several of you talked about mental health. Where do you stand on Proposition 1? And for those of you who don't know, Proposition 1 changes the Mental Health Services Act to the Behavioral Health Services Act, so it affects the mental health services in the county. It also has a bond issue attached to it for $6.4 billion to build housing for unhoused people, people with chronic mental illness, and veterans. Take it away, Patrick.
All right, well, I would probably not support that bond measure. But I'm going to go back and you know, I only have a minute. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the staffing we have. I'm very proud that we have a new CEO, Dave Rickard. I'm very proud we have a new assistant CEO. I'm very proud that we have a very good new health officer, Dr. New. I'm very proud that we have a very good support services director, Monica Fugit. I'm very proud that we have a new Health and Human Services Director, Laura Birch. They're doing a great job. They're representing the board, and sometimes change happens, and these changes have been a good thing. I'm very proud of the staff that we have at Shasta County. I'm excited about the future because of new people coming in with great ideas. Now, I have a minute. I can speak.
I know, put your microphone up so people can hear you when you talk.
So I really want to reiterate that changes occur, and the majority of the board, those sometimes change too. We've got some excellent positions now filled and I'm excited about that.
Wynn Carpenter, you're next. And let me remind you, the question on the floor is, many of you have talked about homelessness, unhoused folks, and mental health. Where do you stand on Proposition 1?
A bond of billions of dollars is a hard no for me, because every one of us is going to pay for it. Our children will pay for it, our grandchildren will pay for it, and our great-grandchildren will pay for it if they stay in California, right? So that's a hard no for me. We need to figure it out, go back to auditing the departments, a forensic audit, we'll find the money, it's there. Believe me, it's there. We all know it's there. And we know why some of these people are leaving the departments, because they know the day's coming where they're going to be tapped on the shoulder, and they're going to be deposed, and they're going to be under the oath to answer questions specifically for a lot of things. That's why forensic audits are huge, because that is also tied to law, so they can be criminally prosecuted for things that they have done, or things they have not done. So we need to get this cleaned up. It's time to clean up the house and make things happen.
Corky Harmon?
I don't agree with Prop 1. I think it's more taxes, more burden. I do know that we need to do something to help the mental in our community, the homeless, and that's what you're talking about. I don't like the fact that it's tied to the veterans. Why did we tie that to veterans? We see our veterans on the street. That's who we need to make priority out of. I don't know. I'd have to look into it a lot closer, but that's my opinion right now.
Suzanne Barrymore?
So, as someone who considers herself a fiscal conservative, bonds I tend to shy away from. I don't feel like that's a good long-term way to manage our resources or to finance programs. That being said, I think that we also need to be talking about homelessness in terms of just supporting people in the community. In the year 2024, we have people in Shasta County who are living without running water and without electricity. We've got a lot of quiet homelessness, quiet desperation going on in our communities, and we need to deal with those with a very integrated approach. Let's get some living wages. Let's make sure that we are doing the best that we can to keep our economy robust. Let's do what we can to bring trades and skills back into the community and deal with homelessness from a more integrated level.
Ellen Long?
$80 billion is a lot of money. Our government is going into what predictably a recession next year, possibly to the tune of $36 billion in a shortfall. To add that on top of that sounds problematic. I will need to do further research to completely understand this proposition. I will say that under care courts, the governor is about to open up billions of dollars of funding for mental health issues. And I think we should be all over that and trying to find out if that is something that's going to be done regardless. We should get our share of that and bring that home here to Shasta County to improve our homeless situation and our help with mental health.
Dan Sloan?
Yeah, I'm not for billions of dollars in bonds either. I'm a fiscal conservative, as you might imagine. And I am involved with the Good News Rescue Mission and have been involved with homelessness and the issues that are involved in that. We just had a board meeting today, and we're having a day tomorrow. A big part of our community is we educate people really well on these issues. Leadership Ready, best class ever, 2023. And we have a meeting tomorrow, and it's I'm the chair of the day. It's for health and wellness, and some of the people Patrick was mentioning are going to be there. Lots of people, about 30 of our community leaders or people that want to be in leadership will be there learning about these issues and how we can better prepare them for the future. We do need to have these changes that are happening, like at home, care courts, and being advised on how best to take care of these situations in a different way, in a more efficient way.
Thank Matt Plummer?
We do need inpatient psychiatric treatment facilities because the reality is we're paying for this already right now, every day, with the money that we're spending on homelessness, the money we're spending on crime, the money we're spending in our emergency rooms. We're paying for it already. Now, the challenge is that the state actually just gave out $1.4 billion over the last several years to counties all around California to build these facilities. Humboldt County built one, Mendocino County built one, Shasta County didn't get any of that money. I don't know why. But I would like to see us actually go after that money, which was grant money and not bonded. Now, when it comes to Proposition 1, there's a part of it that takes some of that funding and gives more of it to the state to control. I'm not a fan of that. The reality is we do need these facilities, and so I think that I would support the second half of it that would, allow us to build these facilities. If we look back, it was Ronald Reagan who dismantled the original psychiatric facilities, and we tried to go with the community health centers. That didn't work. We need something in its place.
Thank you, Mary Rickard.
Yes. In 2004, I gathered signatures for Proposition 63, and that was the Mental Health Services Act. And that program, and Susan and I were on the board at the time, it actually has been there's the innovative program, the capital improvement programs, lots of different programs within that structure. And it's my understanding Proposition 1 actually got some of that part of it. You're nodding your head, yes. And so I'm a little concerned how Proposition 1 is written. I agree with Matt. I think we need the facilities where we can put people that need treatment.
Keep the microphone up.
That need treatment and be able to house them in the facilities where they can get the care and treatment that they need. It's very difficult to get people stabilized. But programs like early intervention that we have with the Mental Health Services Act, those are the kind of programs we really need to be focused on. And we need to get in there, get people treatment early in the process before they decompensate and they become so mentally ill that it takes a long time to stabilize them.
Laura Hobbs?
Yes, I am against Proposition 1. $6.4 billion, that is ridiculous. We can't live on credit here. We need to be responsible. I'd like to talk about programs that work for people who are addicted, but that want to get out of the cycle and break the cycle of addiction. We have programs. New Life Discovery Center is a very good example. However, they only house people and take people in the program who are committed and that follow the rules of the program. If they fall off the wagon, they are expelled. So we need to have programs like that available, but we do not need to go into debt for that. I'd like to say that I do support our veterans, and I don't think it's necessary to do a bond bill to support them. Furthermore, I would just really say that not only do we need to look at helping these homeless folks, but we need to look at what we can do to help the ordinary, law-abiding citizens of Shasta County. Thank you.
Thank you. Wendy Carpenter, you get to go first this time. Shasta County is designated as a rural county. We have 180,000 people population, so that's our technical designation. What are the pros and cons of being a rural county?
I must misunderstand. I thought we were a suburban county. Because that's what was discussed.
I'm reading the question.
Okay, that was discussed at the board meeting yesterday. We are a suburban county.
Okay,
And what
good to know.
We need to be a rural county.
Maybe that's the direction that this person was going, was that
That's
should
correct.
we be designated as a rural county?
Yes.
Okay.
And for the following reasons. The suburban county classification gives department staff higher salaries, but it doesn't support it. Again, it goes back to the forensic audit that I keep harping about. It's going to discuss all that. We have HHS that has how much money has been spent in that whole thing. It's more than half the budget right now, right? So when we're looking at $650+ million for Shasta County budget and 300+ for that part of the budget, we need to look at that to see what's really going on there. All the problems that we were talking about up here, the mental health, all those other things, can certainly be addressed. We just need to get it fixed.
Thank you. And just to make sure that you have the right question here, Corky. Should Shasta County be designated as a rural county? What are the pros and cons?
So, if I understand right, Siskiyou County is a rural county, obviously, I know that. And one of the things that I have to deal with in our business, and you are dealing with it too, even in your personal vehicles, but they have exemptions from smog on your vehicles. I really like that idea. I almost moved my operations to Siskiyou County, or some of them are moving them to Oregon, but I think there's probably a lot of benefit from being a rural county, and I think there's a lot of grants and whatever that came in here because we were a suburban county that maybe we didn't want, but that might have been the motivation behind it. Is that true? Yeah. So anyway, there you go.
Suzanne Barrymore.
All right, so what happened yesterday at the Board of Supervisors meeting was that the county is making the decision to caucus with rural people in their trade association, California Supervisors Association. Laws are what actually will give teeth to whether we have special exemptions to our vehicle mandates or other things. Those are going to be written into laws, rules, and regulations. The fact that our county is caucusing with counties much, much smaller puts our staff at a disadvantage. If we are caucusing with counties that are just about our same size, we will have a better reach to understand resources in the other counties that are of a similar size, and then we have the opportunity to learn from one another in our neighboring counties or elsewhere and get the job done more effectively and efficiently through our staff.
Alan Long.
It's an important distinction between urban, suburban, and rural. We are a rural county, I believe. We've got rural values that are important to all of us. And I think it's important, and some of the disadvantages of being called and being classified as rural are at the state level because we tend to be dismissed and possibly not receive adequate resources directed our way. So it's important that the board have liaison with RCRC and CSAC and get down and fight for the rural values that we have here in this county. And it's a funding source that we need to be loud and clear about standing up for. And so I am in support of classifying us as rural and obtaining the resources accordingly.
Dan Sloan.
Yeah, I also listened very well last night and have looked into it, and I agree. Classifying as a rural county puts us at the top of the lower level, but it gives us opportunities, and also it postpones things. I heard last night it was 3 years for some types of environmental issues like electric vehicles and different things that are really high cost. Maybe the technology is not proven, so I'd like to see those things maybe delayed before we make big investments and borrow money or receive grants and other things for those. I do think we are a culture and that we have a heritage of being rural. We have a lot, I think Nigel's back here in the back. We have a rural county that needs tourism, and we do really well at that. We've got an amazing lake, the largest reservoir in California, and an amazing community that cherishes the environment, so it's something that we can leverage. We do a lot in terms of STEM and other science and technology things at university, but we really are a rural county.
Matt Plummer.
I think the decision that the board made last night was premature, at least in the information that was given to the public. Because ultimately, it sounds to me, based on what we were told last night, that it comes down to three things. It comes down to, if we're a rural county, does that mean that we are exempt from having to follow certain policies for at least a time period? If that's true, then yes, that makes that much more of a favorable idea. Number two, is there something that controls the wages of our staff by this designation? The board did not tell us anything about that last night. So if that's true, that would also be an important consideration. And then third is how much time do we want and need with the other counties? We have RCRC where our representatives go and spend time with the rural counties. Is that sufficient? And would it be helpful then to have some time with suburban counties? For example, in Santa Barbara, which was one of the examples that one of the supervisors kept mentioning, why do we want to talk to them? Well, they did just build a new jail a few years ago at a cheaper price than we're being told here.
Mary Ricker?
Yes, I was part of that discussion last night. First of all, I want to clarify, it's the California State Association of Counties, CSAC, and it's basically, and I just talked to the director about 3 hours ago, and because he listened to the meeting, he said, boy, my name was dropped more often last night in any board meeting in the state of California. He was really chuckling about that. I don't really see the necessity for changing it. We are a rural county, but we are also classified as a suburban county because a suburban county, the caucus meets has 17 members. Those 17 counties have the ability to have 4 members on a panel with an alternate. If you're in a rural county, there are 17 counties that are part of the rural caucus. And they only have 3 representatives. So basically, we would have more ability to have someone in an executive position in the suburban counties, giving us having more ability to lobby for our citizens, and and where we stay in rural county, we're just going to be
Laura Hobbs.
I support the board's decision last night to move from suburban to rural. 98% of our county is rural, and we are most similar to other rural counties in this area. We need to caucus with those counties that are facing similar issues to us. And if we stay rural, we can maintain more of our sovereignty here in Shasta. I believe that right now we are under the thumb of a tyrannical state government that is directly retaliating against Shasta County and probably other rural counties as well. I do not believe in the green energy mandates that are being pushed down our throats. That I think in just a couple of years' time, it's very likely that they'll realize the error in their ways, that these batteries are not good for the environment, that we cannot depend on the batteries in a rural area. And also, we need, as citizens, I believe that when we're designated as, okay, I won't go there, thank you.
Thank you. Corey, you're going to be first on the next. Oh, Patrick, you get to go. Sorry, Patrick, I already checked you off because you stood up so fast.
All right, thank you, Susan. So the board did make the right decision last night. We did have a night meeting, and we're going to have 6 more night meetings this year. We are a rural county. All the surrounding counties around us are rural. And when we're down caucusing in Sacramento, we're with other larger cities, not with like-minded cities. It made no sense to be with other big cities that didn't share the same goals and had the same ideas, what would be good for our citizens. So we fixed that last night. It was a 3-2 vote, and we've been in a suburban category for about a decade. And let's try this, right? They've had their way. Now let's try it as a rural county, which we are. Now we'll get to caucus with all of our other counties that join us, and I think it will be a better arrangement.
Thank you. My apologies, Patrick. You're first, Corky, and the question is, how can the county, through the Board of Supervisors, make up for the money lost with the suspension of impact fees?
That's a tough one. I agree with the decision that was made on the impact fees, because I want to encourage good business sense here and less cost to the people that want to build a home or businesses that want to come in and provide more jobs. I'm not sure what that would be. Ask me that one more time.
How do you think that the county can make up for the money lost with the suspension of impact fees?
Well, that's going to be with creating more jobs. That's going to be creating more projects, more tax base. I mean, it's just good business sense, to stimulate our economy rather than stifle it. I think the impact fees are doing a lot of stifling projects. And I believe that the new projects that would come in, the housing, I mean, we can't afford housing right now, you know, the middle class or first-time home buyers. Let's work on that, on the front end of that.
Suzanne Merrimore.
So, first of all, we need to see some math. This decision was made without any backup, any justification as to why it should be zero. I agree that the fees should probably come down based on the fact that we have not grown in population as much as we had anticipated we would. But I don't think that number should be zero. I think we need to go back and look at the math and see what is there and see what we need in order to do the work of the county, the sheriff's department, the planning department, etc. And those people should be involved in those conversations, the resource manager, the sheriff, etc. Those people understand how the money needs to be spent and how much they need, and none of that math was done.
Ellen Long.
Well, to begin with, I would not have voted to reduce or eliminate the impact fees. This is going to be decided by the Supreme Court, and we can act accordingly once that decision is made. I do not believe that by reducing developer fees, that's going to go directly to the end consumer and stimulate growth and additional purchasing of housing. I believe that'll go into the developer's pocket and will never be passed along. Having said that, I think it's important to figure out, because we know county budgets, they can't really generate new revenue. And that's a challenging thing. I think one of the steps that we could do to generate some new revenue would be to get out of all the costs that we're getting into with the lawsuits and the hand count voting and a lot of these things. So I think we can save a lot of money there, generate additional revenue. I think one of the things with our government right now, we're not tapping adequately state resources for a lot of money because we don't have the personnel to get into doing that. So, thank you.
Dennis Long.
You know, I think we have, your question was, how are we going to make up for the money? But yeah, there's a lot of questions that come from this, and transparency is a good one. You know, how are those fees being charged? How can they be charged in the future? How can we make up for the lost revenue? I was just recently here in this location in another building with the permit department and asked the question about housing. And I was told that in Shasta Lake City it was zero, you know, the available housing. And that is remarkable. We all know how expensive it is. So one of the things we need to do is try to find ways to provide more housing for people that's affordable and for builders so that they can take properties that are out there to develop. We need to find ways to reallocate funds in order to make up for the loss of fees and get people involved in trying to find ways to standardize some of the things that we do. Transparency is a big part of it. And maybe looking at a way of making some efficiencies in other areas so that we can reallocate funds to those areas that need it.
Matt Plummer.
I think there are three ways that we can increase our revenue as a county. The first is, let me say this. We can't assume that the sales and property taxes are going to go up just because we cut fees. The data does not prove that out. We need to stimulate it. And so I think to do that, we need to have a regional identity as an economy that we're trying to build. And there's a lot more I could say about that, but I think we could build as being the training center for the trades, for nursing, and for teaching. Number two, there are a lot of grant dollars coming from the state and federal government that we're missing out on. I just mentioned that we did not get any of the $1.4 billion from mental and behavioral health facilities. And part of that is because we have engineers in our public works department trying to write the grants rather than somebody who knows what they're doing in terms of writing grants. And then number three, and this is a specific one, that when it comes to illegal marijuana grows, right now we're not imposing the fine on them of $10,000 to $20,000 for cleaning up their sites. There are 2,000 illegal marijuana grows roughly in the county, and we could be imposing that, people who are destroying our county, and we could be recouping those funds.
Mary Rickard.
Yes, I was engaged in that conversation about the elimination of impact fees. In 2020, when I was chair of the board, I suspended the board and I suspended an increase in the impact fees. And the question is, where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from the general fund. And what's that going to impact? It's going to impact public safety. It's going to impact how we respond to crime. It's going to impact our libraries. It's going to impact our animal wealth, the animal control. People that, I know in my district, District 3 is huge. We have a lot of people who are always having stray dogs. We already have a problem with trying to get stray dogs off the streets and taken care of. So these are the services that are going to be impacted as a result of this elimination of these fees. The other thing is that currently we have the car fire footprint and the bonfire footprint. There are building lots that are available that you can build without having to pay for an impact fee. So I think we need to look at those lots before we move forward with eliminating all of these fees.
Thank you, Laura Hobbs.
Yes, these funds will be quickly restored by increased revenue on property tax. We did the right thing by suspending these fees on new growth. Fees that are not proportional to services rendered are more aptly considered a tax. We cannot wait for the Supreme Court to settle the El Dorado County case. Our county will be held liable for lawsuits that are in violation to the 2017 Mitigation Act. And by the way, any of these fees that were unrightly collected should be returned. Thank you.
Patrick Jones.
Yeah, so the board made the right decision to terminate these fees. Now, they've been doing these fees for a couple decades now. So now give us a chance to prove otherwise. Give us a little time to show that by eliminating and terminating these fees that we're going to see more money coming in sales tax and in property tax. When I was on Reading City Council during the recession, we had no permits coming in, very few. We eliminated 1/3 of the impact fees, and within 1 month or 2 months, we had 200 permits pulled. It was immediate, and it really helped the economy grow. And I've lived through that. We've seen that. Now, these fees were based on a study from 2008 that was highly flawed, that said our growth by this time would be 270,000 people. And so they based it on a flawed study, and that growth did not happen. You see these fees throughout California so high, they're a method of slow growth and controlling growth. And the Supreme Court is going to hear that very case. In fact, the day that we terminated these fees, this case was going to the Supreme Court. We made the right decision.
Wynn Carpenter.
I was an appraiser for Shasta County back in the 2007, 8, and 9 period when everybody's property values went down. We were chasing the values down. So what happens there is then you have a correction on that. Then the properties start getting sold. And then the property values, the properties that were sitting vacant, they start getting sold for higher prices, and then guess what? Your tax revenue starts popping back up again. And it's not just the residential part, it's the business aspect of it. I sit on a chamber in Palo Cedro. I'm a chamber board member there. One of my fellow chamber board members is in the process of building a new feed store out there. And guess what? She is so grateful that the fees are going to be gone now because she's in the process of doing this. It's going to save her $30,000 just for paperwork to build her feed store so she can keep the business going that's been going since the 1960s. So that's just one. That's just one little business there out in Palo Cedro. Just think about all the businesses countywide.
Thank you. Suzanne, you get the next question first. And this is a question we often ask. Who is your hero or heroine and why?
This really put me on the spot. You know, I can't just pick one.
Well, pick more than one.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as I've been canvassing out in the district, I think all of my friends and neighbors are my heroes. All of us in the community, I have been so inspired by people reaching out, wanting to support my campaign, recognizing that we just need stable governance in Shasta County. We just need to put things back on the rails. and take care of business. I think other than that, hero or heroines, yeah, I got nothing.
Alan Long.
Hero. That is a tough question. I would have to say my father. And I say that because he's no longer with us, but he was just a good, solid person with fundamental values, his faith, conservative. He brought us up to care about people, to have values, to have morals, and I'm forever grateful. That was a very formative part of my life, and I have to say it's my father.
Thank you. Dan Sloan.
Okay, so it would be God, family, country. You know, I owe all of what I do and who I am to my faith, and I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for that. So I'm just eternally grateful for my belief in Jesus Christ and what that has done for me personally, professionally, and everything I do. Just amazing. My family is my mother and my father. I may have indicated earlier, my father passed when I was 1 year old, died in an accident on 44. She moved to the Bay Area, didn't go on unemployment or welfare, and got a job working for the phone company. Gave me the work ethic that I have and have appreciated my entire life. Married an amazing guy, stepfather, and he just instilled the values and character. Strong conservative man, quiet man, Catholic. And then politics, country, would be Ronald Reagan. So that was the first president I voted for, and I enjoy politics, have been involved in it since the 2nd grade, and I love it. So, thank you.
Matt Plummer.
Try to fit in two, one more government related and one more personal. So government, George Washington, which might sound like an obvious one, but there's a few things that I really love about him. One is that he put his men first, and he was willing to sacrifice for the good of his men and then his country. He didn't want power or prestige, but he felt the call to service, to serve his country, and then he got out, and he set a precedent. He could have easily continued in that. So a lot of other things you could say about him. The other one is my 4th grade teacher, and she called me out when I was in 4th grade and said, would you like to come in early before school and do some extra reading and math? It seems like you're pretty good at that. And I met with her once a week for that whole 4th grade year, and that set me on a different path academically in my career, and a lot of it traces back to her making that sacrifice. She didn't have to do that. She wasn't being paid to do that, but she decided to sacrifice, and I think that's something we want out of our public servants, is willingness to sacrifice for the good of other people.
Mary Rickard. Keep the microphone up, Mary.
Okay. So I have two. First of all, I want to honor all my family and the legacy that they've left throughout the country. But there's two that I would like to mention. One is Mother Teresa. As a lifelong Catholic, I really admire her as a saint. She was always concerned about those most vulnerable among us, and I think that she's a real inspiration to all of us, is to care for others. The other one is Temple Grandin. I don't know how many know who Temple Grandin is, but my husband and I have had the fortune of knowing her for years. She's done amazing things for animal welfare throughout the world, and she's been an inspiration. She's changed a lot of how animals are processed, how they're handled, and so, and Jim and I have a lot of great stories about her. But she has Asperger's, and she's another very inspirational person because she's overcome her disability. And if you haven't seen the movie on her life, it's called Temple Grandin. I highly recommend it. She's an amazing woman.
Laura Hobbs.
All right, well, my number one hero is Jesus Christ, always. But here on, as far as politics and whatnot, my heroine would be Carrie Lake. She fearlessly speaks truth to power. She was recently asked to step out of politics. Actually, this was back in March, but it was recently aired. She was asked to step out of politics and given an offer to bribe in exchange. She fearlessly refused. She's standing up for our country. She's bold and courageous. I also very much respect President Trump. He's a hero, and the J6 prisoners who are being wrongfully prosecuted for their political beliefs. Thank you.
Patrick Jones.
I guess I have a few heroes. I really love veterans. I really appreciate their sacrifice for our country. I'm very patriotic, and veterans are top of my list. My father was a veteran, and he's probably my biggest hero. He was a hard worker. He raised a family, and he sacrificed so much. I worked with my dad starting right here in this town, starting in 1972, before I started going to school. I work in that same business today. I've been in the same business for over 50 years. I'm in the current building that we are right now for 46 years, working alongside my father, my brother, my brothers, and my sister. But my father particularly stands out for the hard work, dedication, and he was a true father. Today we need more fathers than ever before, and he was the epitome of that, so I'll always be grateful.
Wayne Carpenter.
My hero is Thomas Jefferson, for all the reasons we should all know. And if we don't know them, read about him, find out what he did, and how we are benefiting from what he did. Keep in mind, he was 21 years old when he got going on the Constitution and all the other good stuff. They were all a bunch of young bucks doing that because people didn't live as long at that time, right? They were all well-read, well-versed, they understood the processes. We need to do the same. And that's what I'm going to bring to the board. I understand the Constitution. I will abide by the Constitution. If it's not constitutional, in my mind, it ain't happening. So we need to do this every single day and give thanks to our Almighty every single time.
Thank you.
I could never make my hero anybody but my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And if we're going to talk, and if you don't understand that, you need to research that. But the other hero, and politically speaking, is Kristi Noem, Governor of South Dakota. If you don't know who she is, you should check her out too. That state never stopped anything. During the whole COVID, their economy boomed. They never closed one business down, and I admire her for what she's done and what she's still doing.
Thank you. So we have come to the end of our questions, and we're going to do the closing now. Everybody has 2 minutes. It's unstructured. You can say anything that you feel that you need to fill in that didn't get asked. It's hard. We only asked 8 questions. It's hard to catch everything. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to start from this end, because that's where the microphone is, and go that way. And that will change the order a little bit, I think, and make for a good closing. So take it away, Alan Long.
Thank you. Well, obviously, being here tonight was not enough time to answer a lot of questions that are very important in this next election. We are at a critical time in the history of our county. This may be the most important election since I've been here 32 years. Our government is falling apart. We are getting distracted from the mission of the people. We need to work on those things, and that is only done through voting. You guys will decide, and the rest of the districts will decide who gets into office, and that has implications. My goal is to restore our county government to a functioning government where we respect department heads. We bring back that stability in our department. We put faith back in our department heads. We value our employees. We pay them a living wage. Once we do that, we can get on to very important things. I'm going to prioritize building our new public safety building with the mental health and the drug addiction components to it. I will fight tirelessly for those things. My background in law enforcement, my education, my experiences, my governance on a county or a school board level during COVID, all those types of issues, has prepared me for this position. And a well-rounded, broad experience. And I hope that you will carefully research all of us as candidates and make your decision, and I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Suzanne Biramon.
I'd like to thank you all again for coming tonight. Government is run by those who show up. So thank you for having an interest in what's going on in Shasta County. I would just like to close and remind folks that I have a very broad background. I have worked in the nonprofit sector. I have worked in the government sector. I have owned my own business. I know how county departments run. I have relationships with most of the current department heads that go back sometimes decades. I will bring to this position the commitment to getting things back on the rails, getting the county working in a functioning capacity again, emboldening and supporting and empowering our department heads to do the jobs that we need done. On top of that, I would just like to say that if you'd like more information about me, you can find it at SuzanneForSupervisor.org or at Suzanne for Supervisor on Facebook. The one last thing that I would just like to beseech all of you as you're considering candidates to vote for is, know that I've been to most of the board meetings for the last couple of years and that I'm following everything and I have the relationships that we need to get things back on the rails here locally and to build a better relationship with our legislators in Sacramento. We keep hearing about how our hands are tied for too many things, that we want local control. Well, then we need to have relationships with Sacramento in order to get that done. And in my advocacy work at CSBA, I have those relationships already and I'm ready to use them day one as soon as I'm elected into office.
Thank you. Corky Carmen?
When I was on my way to this forum, my wife, who knows me better than anybody, sent me this little text, and hopefully you don't be offended by me reading it. My wife won't be happy with me, but she was trying to encourage me, because I don't really like the whole public speaking thing. I already told you that, but my wife said, just remember this. I sent this to you, and I want you to remember this. She said, you are fair-minded, as in common sense, looking at a situation or issue from all points of view and coming up with the most efficient way to make forward progress. A troubleshooter, so to speak. Bill Wiebelhaus was my mentor in my business, and I eventually took over that company. Once said, you have vision. I would say you have positive vision. My wife said, you are a problem solver and very good at bringing people together to work as a team. So I'm asking for you guys to hire me is what I'm doing. It's kind of like a job interview. And I would ask you to go to my website, CorkyHarmon.com. It's hard to tell you who I am in a short note, but you can find out about me in this community. Talk to people that work for me. I have a gift of working with people and putting people together and making stuff happen. Not by myself, but by putting the right people together. And I'm asking for your vote. The thing I'm most proud of is all the people that work for me. That's what I did. Hired them. And that's what I'll do here in a short note. I'm saying I always feel like I'm in a hurry. I want you to know that I'm trustworthy. I'm very competitive. I'll do you a good job. I'm not doing this for any other reason but that I care. And I have other things I probably should be doing. Like maybe thinking about retiring, but that's not in my DNA. I want my kids to say, what's Grandpa doing now? But thank you for being here.
Wynn Carpenter.
Remember, elections have consequences. We all need to remember that. We've been living with consequences for, 3.5 years now? So let's take care of it locally. Elections do have consequences. Research the people. If you don't know them, research them. Check them out. Talk to them. Find out what's going on. I've been going to the board meetings for about 6 years now. And the nuances that you find in the boardroom when you sit there and listen is huge compared to what people tell you what they saw and they heard. It's different than what you see online and what you hear online. You have to be in the room. You hear all the little idiosyncrasies that are said under their breath. You understand what's going on. You understand who's doing what to whom. You have to pay attention to the details. And believe me, I've heard it from the dais, and I've heard it from the crowd. Both ways. Everybody's guilty of something happening. I understand what the players do and how they do it. And I understand what we need to fix. I am fair-minded. I will always be honest. You may not like the response, but it'll be true. Because then I never have to remember what I said, because it'll be the truth. And I always operate that way, because I was raised that way. And if I didn't operate that way, my parents were great disciplinarians. They understood the value of disciplining. I raised my children that way, and I'm blessed. I have 2 beautiful children that are adults. That my son and beautiful daughter-in-law gave me a beautiful granddaughter last year, and so the family's growing. I'm retired. I have the full-time capacity to work on this. I'm not involved in any other committees other than the chamber that I currently sit on, and that will not affect my decisions on any capacity of working on the board and giving it more than 40 hours a week as necessary.
Thank you. Patrick Jones?
Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. When I was on Reading City Council, I turned down the CalPERS retirement. I turned down lifetime medical. I've also, at the county, turned down all the retirement. I've saved, just in that alone, $600,000 to the taxpayers because I didn't feel it was right. I feel this is a part-time job, and doing what's right when no one's looking is the job. I'm very proud of the majority of this board. We have done a lot of work last year. We're going to do a lot of work this year. If you like the direction that we're going, I'd ask for your vote. And we're not running the county down. We're lifting this county up to the position that it needs to be. And the majority is doing that. And I'd like your vote. I hope you check me out March 5th. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Laura Hobbs.
Okay, first of all, thank you all for coming this evening. Voting is incredibly important. If our votes are not accurately counted, then we are not a free people. We must move to hand-counted elections at the precincts with paper poll books. Shasta's sovereignty is of utmost importance to me, and I think to many of my fellow citizens here. California is pushing the windmills in Shasta County, even though we've already clearly voted against that for our county. The windmills are monstrosities that should not be here in this county. They're 600 feet tall. They're known to spontaneously combust, and they are filled with fossil fuels. They're not green energy, they're not good for the environment, and they're not good for Shasta. And they have plans beyond Round Mountain. They also plan Bali and McLeod, so we have to stand firm. I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment, and I don't think that we need to ask the state for permission to have our constitutional rights respected. It's incumbent upon all of us to demand that our constitutional rights are respected. I'm endorsed by the California Republican Assembly, by Mike Lindell, by Terry Raposa, Nick Gardner, and others. If you want to learn more about me, visit my website, votelaurahobbs.com. I have a lot of material, tons of content. I'm an open book. You can ask me any questions. I put it all out there for anyone to see. And speaking of asking me questions, you can come to my town hall tomorrow. It will be held at the Reading Public Library at 1100 Parkview Avenue. It's going to be at 5:30 p.m. and you're all welcome to join. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Rickard?
Yes, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight. I'm really excited that you're invested in the future of Shasta County. And I want you to know that you have my commitment to continue to fight for the soul of Shasta County. I am tired of the outside influences, the outside money. I think it's time that we take our county back and make it great again. We need to stand up for our sheriff. He's doing a great job eradicating marijuana grows in this county. We need to save the environment. I'm also very supportive of fighting Sacramento in terms of the Fountain Wind Project. I represent the people, the citizens of Round Mountain and Montgomery Creek, And that's so important to them. They do not want that to come in and be a real potential danger for them. With my knowledge of forest fires, it's a really, with 600-foot tall wind turbines, there would be an impossible way to fight a fire there. I also want to point out, and I think Suzanne made the point, relationships in Sacramento matter. When I was on the Board of Forestry, I was able to help with a project that was basically discontinued through the State Water Resources Control Board. When I was a supervisor during the pandemic, I used my relationships and we were able to get all the 4-H and FFA kids at our fair to be able to show those animals and sell them. They had invested in those animals, and if not, they would have lost it. I think the kids raised over $2 million at that junior livestock sale. And that's because I have the connections in Sacramento. So that's important. I just also want to comment too, during the pandemic, Shasta County was the only county in the state that had a positive economic growth. That's something a lot of people are not aware of. We did everything we could to make sure that Shasta County did not suffer during that time. And you go to other counties in this state and you hear a lot of really tragic stories, but Shasta County, for the most part, did the best they could. So I just thank all of you for coming tonight, and I ask that you continue to support me as your District 3 Supervisor.
Matt Plummer. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you all for being here and being engaged in this conversation. You know, during the 1980 presidential debate, Ronald Reagan said, and he posed the question to the public, is your life better now than it was 4 years ago? And I think that is the question that we should use to hold our elected officials accountable. And so if you ask yourself, is homelessness better or worse than it was 4 years ago? Are our crime rates better or worse? Are our suicide rates better or worse? What about childhood trauma and childhood abuse? What about our roads, which rank 7th worst in the state? If you look at the dimensions that matter to our everyday lives, they've been getting worse and worse. Now, we've been led to believe that signing policies, having meetings, is a sign of government effectiveness. But if those things don't translate into actual benefit for the people, then what good are they? I mean, the California legislature meets for 9 months every year in session, while the Texas legislature meets every other year for only 5 months. Is meeting a lot a sign of effectiveness? If it's not delivering a benefit to you for the tax dollars that you're paying, then it's not. And so I'd like to invite you, as you consider over the next month who to vote for. Do you want to vote in a way that sustains the leadership that's been present, that has had a chance to solve these problems, but these problems have only gotten worse? Or do you want to invite someone who's had a history of making career decisions, that has positioned himself to solve problems in the community, that has worked with leading organizations around the country to do that? Right now, we're spending more and more money, but we're not getting the results. I mentioned this earlier. 5 years ago, we had a budget of $500 million. Now our budget is $660 million, $160 million more. We're not getting better results for the money we're spending. That is what I am focused on, is actually delivering a result to the people. Would love to connect with you. I think that government should be accessible to the people, that you shouldn't have to come to a meeting.
Thank you. Dan Sloan.
Thank you. Last but not least, I'm Dan Sloan, and I want your vote. And most of you know, or probably know, where Kenyon Drive is. 1939. That was my great-grandma, Grandpa Kenyon, that came here. Came from very humble roots and growing up in this community. Moved away because of a tragedy in my life and came back and went to high school and met a lot of people, made lifelong friendships, and now I'm back because I believe in the community. I believe in what this community can do. I have relationships in Sacramento and other parts of even around the world, but my home is here. I've learned a great deal. I'm the chair of the Shasta County Republican Party. A year ago, it was fractured and broken. And the people there were kind enough to appoint me as their chairman. It was a unanimous vote. And we're actually on the ballot twice for myself and Wynn. We're running for the committee again, for the Central Committee. The last time they had it, I believe they had about 4 or 5 people that ran. This time, we had more positions, or more people running than positions. There's 21 of them that are up for vote. We
have probably approximately 30 people that were interested. People want to come back and get involved. And that's what I'm good at. I'm a good leader. And even though I've come from very humble beginnings and done some amazing things, I have some experiences that are unique that I think will add to this economy, add to our community, help fight those issues like crime and homelessness, building infrastructure that we need so desperately, and finding a way to do that efficiently and financially sound in a sound way. The relationships I have help me break down walls. I told you I worked for Pepperdine University in the law area, but it was in mediation, arbitration, and training people in those areas. I'm very good at that and very well known for it. Thank you. Vote for me.
So let's give this group of people a standing ovation. I think we should all stand up. Standing ovation. They worked really hard. Thank you all. Thank you all for joining us tonight. The League of Women Voters thanks you. We do have a favor to ask. We have to put these chairs away. I'm not in charge of chair putting away, but we have to put these chairs away, and some of you nice, strong men, we would appreciate your help. Thank you very much, and I'm sure the candidates want to visit with you.
We only have to put away 1/3 of the chairs, just 1/3 of the chairs, please.